and allowing herself to be told in every way over and over that she is loved. Why is a bride radiant? Because they're talking love. Why should a Christian be radiant? Because we're talking love. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. I realize that's a song, but it's still very, very true. He will tell you, and he'll tell you through his word over and over and over and over as many times as you need to hear it, that he loves you. I believe young people want that feeling. You know, I like young people. Young people are more fun than older people. Young people are where it's at. I mean, anyone over 40, 35, 40, they're over the hill. It's the young people that are coming on that I like. I like young people. And I think that they want this feeling that we want with the Heavenly Father. They want it with their mothers. We want to feel enveloped in the love of God, and so do teens want to feel enveloped in the love of their moms. What do you talk about? And she walks with me, and she talks to me. You can just walk and talk. You don't even have to go to the amusement park. Just walk and talk. Alone and listen. 2 words. Alone and listen. Silly things. You know, what do we want to talk to the Lord about? Pour out our complaints, like I didn't get to sing a solo at that meeting, so I had to sing one now. Hurts such as I know they are, they didn't ask me, so I went in and put it in my speech. Hurts such as I know they are talking about me, and it hurts so badly, and I don't know if anyone loves me. No one will include me. I don't have a best friend. I don't have nice clothes. I'm not appreciated. They use me, and then that's all they want, and they forget me. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. I'm too this. I'm too that. I'm awkward. I'm clumsy. Those are the things we want to tell our Heavenly Father, and that's the same thing about which the girls might want to tell us. Let's stop a minute. Who can tell me? All right, young ladies, come up, will you, that I talked with. I do not know what they're going to say. Scares you a little bit. Those young ladies, come on. You come on right ahead. And are there others? And they're coming from back there, or where? Do you know where the others are? Okay. Okay, here they come. Come on, right up here. I just met with them for a minute. Yes, if you can hold the mic for them, that'd be great. Come on up here with Mrs. Moffat with them and hold the mic for them. And I'm asked them to tell a favorite time with their mom or their mothering one. It could be an aunt, a grandma, or whoever mothers them. Whoever is the mothering one. Whoever's mom to them. What's a favorite thing you remember?
Well, I remember that when we were walking, my mom always talked, and she was like talking so long, and then she told me how she got me saved, and that was
you went over your story of salvation.
Mm-hmm,
okay.
With my mom, and that was my special time with her because I really needed it. And I really wanted to talk with my mom because she was a nice young lady.
Okay. All right. A special time with a mom or a mothering one.
Well, when we go shopping for groceries or clothes and, like, go look for stuff, I always talk to her, and we always get together, and we go out to eat, and we talk, and sometimes I read the book and stuff.
Thank you very much. All right, next.
My most memorable times is when we go shopping and stuff, and she talks to us, and it's very exciting talking to my mom to see what she has to say, and if you have a problem with your friend, she just helps you out. So I really...
You can tell her what your problem is. Yeah. Okay, good.
I had a really memorable time when I was with my mom. We went on a trip for about a week, and my sister came, and we talked a lot about different stuff that happened in our lives, and it was a really special time for me.
All right, thank you. Yes.
I remember one day I got home from school and I got to tell my mom that I asked Jesus in my heart.
Good. Most memorable time.
When my dad used to work nights and we'd stay up late together and just talk.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I felt privileged. And the most memorable time with my mom is when she took me to a doctor's appointment. And then after that, she took me shopping, and also she lets me drive her around everywhere.
Good night, a doctor's appointment. That wouldn't be what I think. Aren't these amazing? Okay.
I remember a special time when me and my mom went shopping, and then after then we went home and had a tea party together.
A tea party together. All right.
I remember a particular time where we went shopping and, on a trip, and then we went to a fancy restaurant, and we were able to talk a lot, and it was really fun.
Thank you very much. 3 times I've done this in the last little bit at 3 different churches, and always I can plan on that they're going to say, we just talked. Sometimes the people say, it was terrible things. I mean, it wasn't going to the amusement park. It wasn't anything. It was alone, and they talked. One time, they had the car break down or something, and they just had fun because the car broke down, and they were alone, and they got to talk. And never was it the big things that we usually think about, the vacations and the amusement parks and the things we don't think we have the money for, or we feel as if we're in competition with the world because we can't do the things the world does, or we feel we're in competition with maybe a daddy who would give big things that we can't give if you're a mother alone. It's amazing to me how much they really want just to listen, be listened to, and to talk. How different is this feeling of wanting to pour out one's heart to God for what the teenagers want to talk to us about? I named some of the things that we want to talk to God about that seem a little bit different. They want to talk to us about feelings about boys, the wrong boy, no boy, too many boys. I never had that problem. Somebody said, I feel funny when a boy likes me. I felt funny that no boy did like me. Hurts about being left out, not getting to be cheerleader or on a special event team of some kind, not being in with peers but with adults. And mamas, there's a lot of people that are not in with their peers. They might be in with younger and older, but not with their peers. I definitely was not. I had a refuge, though, and it was my dad and mom in the restaurant where I could go and wait on tables. I got a couple awards, but they were from adults, not from my peers. I certainly remember when I was Miss Wymore, and it certainly was not from being beautiful or anything like that. In fact, it was the grocery store decided to have a promotion, and people who went to this particular grocery store, every $10 they could vote for some particular girl. Well, all the older people in town came into the restaurant, and I served them, and they liked me, so I got to be Miss Wymore and got a bicycle. I didn't make it to Miss Nebraska. Then we did have a girl state thing where for a day or a week we took over supposedly, the Nebraska state government, and 3 organizations in my town sent me. They were all people who were not my peers. A lot of people don't have a great deal of time with their own peers. But still, you need to help them and accept them, because if the kids feel like, oh, you don't accept that and you're scared about that, then they're going to be scared about that. Maybe their friends are changing their standards, get about in the 6th grade, 7th grade, and along like that, and the friends they had in grade school who all had the same standards and all did the same type of soul winning, and all of a sudden their friends are going a different direction, still in the Christian school, but going in a different direction, and they're losing their friends, and they don't know how to feel, and they don't know what to do, and they don't know how to talk. And if you just listen many, many times, they'll come through it all right. Unhappy incidents at school, things that happen at school, they want to talk to you about. Now you say, how do you get this alone time? I mean, where in the world are we going to go to get this kind of time? I've heard of lots of different answers to that. Some will fit you and some will not fit you. In some cases, a late curfew, and you have 8 children, and there's only 7 days in the week, so you have to go every 8 days, I guess. But if you have 3 children, every 3rd day, or however, if you want to make it once a week, that's a certain night that child gets to stay up alone with you, 15 minutes even. But they have you alone at some time or other. It's amazing how different they are alone from when they're with the rest of the family, because they're not having to interact and see to it that they fight off and fend off everybody else. And so be able to have some alone time with them. Early times in the morning. There are some children that would get up in the morning just to be with you. We tend to think as we get older that we're not appealing to young people. But some of the people I liked the most when I was a kid were quite elderly. I would even think that way now. But they were interested in me, and they would listen to me. I think that's a figment of the imagination that the devil's played a trick on us there. They don't care what we are like if we'll just listen. In fact, if we're completely incapacitated, we can't get away from them, then they really like it. Maybe we should all lose our hands and feet, I don't know, so we can just sit and be quiet and listen. Getting in a car where they alone, not doing errands alone, putting one child in the car with you, leave the rest at home to get Jack the Ripper to get him, I guess. No, figure out what to do with the rest of the children, and there are those people you trust. And I remember one woman saying she had children from 17 on down to about 5, so she could leave some children alone. And she had a situation that a lot of you wouldn't have. You have to make the time, however you can make it. Listen, grandmothers aren't even there to listen anymore. They're out having parties. They can't even find a grandmother to listen to them. They're not in the same area with a grandmother. It used to be grandma would sit and listen. But getting in the car and taking them someplace, going down to the area where maybe there's an Aldi's and all kinds of other stores, and you're doing shopping. And one woman told me that she took one child to Aldi's, went back with that load, and everything was in one intersection, got another child, and with each child that day, she let them choose something they ate. And she didn't eat any meals that day. She just ate with every child. And she heard through the transom or something, heard them talking about it, said, "What'd you get with Mom?" And she found out they did know what was happening, that she was having a treat with each one of them as she went out. But spatial times alone, work projects, that the work isn't the important thing, and if you don't get the work done, this is not the time where you're really teaching them to get the job done. This is just a background thing where you're doing mindless work and where they might begin talking to you. But you can't force it, and they might not talk to you right away. And you go ahead and do something else so it won't seem like you're just going, and they'll freeze and won't be able to talk at all. Walks. If you just taking a walk. Transportation time. In your November paper, Christian Womanhood paper that's been given out, Brother Vogel has a whole article under the teen section on transportation time. And I think you have it with you right now. And I think you've been given that paper. No, yes, no. Okay? Will they get it or not get it? Okay, so if they subscribe tomorrow, they will get it through, or you can't get that paper. What would we have to do, run it again for them or something? Because you're saying it wouldn't go through fast enough. We'd have to run the article through again for them. Well, we could do that. We've done that once before. Okay, he has an article on transportation that he thinks is senseless, because he just knows to do these things, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. It tells how great a time you can have just using transportation time, taking them to activities and all of that type of thing, and what you can do just transporting children to things they have to do, and to take advantage of everything you can transport them to. Because it's going to be soon enough they won't have to go with you. And that these would be wonderful times. Going shopping when you don't like shopping, and besides you don't like the clunky shoes they want to try. People, the clunky shoes are back in that were in when my daughter was in high school. I told my daughter she couldn't have them. They looked like orthopedic shoes, and she couldn't have them. Then I thought, yeah, let her go ahead. Then maybe they'll scare the guys away. I got to thinking it's not sin, so let her have those ugly shoes. They're back in. But if you don't have a fit about it, and if you just let them look at it, they often find that they don't like them either if you don't jump in right away. Maybe you have a closet party together. Just figuring out, what's in the closet and what you can put together and enjoy doing something like that. Even go to your closet and let them tell you what they like and what they'd like you to put together. And just lie down on the bed and be looking up at the closet, and you might get to talking about something else. Clean jewelry box together, or look at the yearbook together, or spend time looking at photo albums. It's not to get to the goal. Remember that. A lot of times, as soon as we started doing something like that, we would feel like, I may not get to that, and if I don't get to that, I don't get the thing done, so they start to talk, and you go, no, we got to get this done. Anytime you can talk, anytime they'll listen. And people, a lot of times, it's not our talking, it's not our lectures to teens, it's their talking things out to us themselves. Let them talk out their problems, and let them say to you what they're thinking. And they'll get some new perspective before you have to even worry about giving them your ideas at all. It's just that it's so hard to do that. I mean, they say something like, they like some boy, and you go, he couldn't even put shoes on your baby. They weren't going to marry him. They were just telling you they like the guy. And that's a good sign, folks, that they kind of are looking at some guy. And so we get so scared and so upset. And girls, teenagers, be fragile with us. We're just scared. That's all. Don't be careful with us. Be tender with us. We don't mean to act that way and jump on everything and act like everything's a federal case. We're just so scared. Remember, teens will not talk, usually will not talk on command. People, you don't particularly want to talk on command either sometimes. And they don't either. You don't know how long it'll take before they'll talk. But if you go out in the car and you're going on an errand and you have them in the car with you and you don't turn on any music and you don't tell any stories with points to them, and if you just shut up, they may eventually talk. Now, what if they never do? What have you lost? You haven't lost a thing. You've had a successful time if you've taken a walk and nothing was said. You've broken the ice. Remember, doing these things are secondary. The walk is secondary. Anything you do, going on an errand, is secondary to actually reaching the goal, which is to talk or listen to your teenager. They want you alone. They tell me that. They say because everything they say that they do with their love with their mothers was alone time together. I know the world's telling you, and they've just even come out recently with a book that we don't have anything to do with rearing our children after we've given them birth. All we have to do, because from then on it's daycare and it's peers, and that's all we have to do with our children. But that's the world, and they're stupid, and we know they never do anything right. And of course, I guess that's right. If you never have anything to do with them after you give them birth, I guess it would be right to have no effect on them. And they said not to feel too bad when they go, do all these bad things because we don't have any effect on them anyway. This has all been all over newspapers in recent days. They do. We won't be able to talk with them. We won't be able to listen to them unless we see to it that we are finding a way to get to one of them at a time. But here's some myths. We think we haven't succeeded if they haven't talked to us. We went out and he wouldn't say a thing to me. She wouldn't say a thing to me. That doesn't mean that we haven't been successful at all, that it hasn't been a success. If they just knew you wanted to be with them, and sometimes don't you like to just go somebody and have, I've heard people say, we can just have companionable silence. And so we get so scared if there can't be talk going on all the time, or noise of some kind. We think this is the time to make points, but it isn't. We think all they want is all they want is things and trips. They want to go someplace, they want to do something, they want money to go someplace, that's all they want. It's not what they want at all. They want you. It's just they don't know how to say it. If they did know how to verbalize it, they wouldn't want to because they'd be embarrassed to say it. I can't see myself as a teenager saying to my mom, I just want to talk to you. I can't remember doing that. In fact, we're afraid of rejection because we're afraid that if we do say that, we won't get them anyway. And so therefore we just go on our way and try to figure out life by ourselves because we don't have anyone that's going to pay attention to us. Alone and listen. 2 words. They want you alone and they want you to listen. It might be 15-minute times only, but couldn't it be 15 minutes? If each child knew that they were going to get 15 minutes alone with you another night, could it not be that? Or whenever your time would permit? We have immediate access to God at all times. But children don't have that to us. And they usually fear rejection if they do ask for it and don't get it. People, you stop and listen to young people, and young people will stop and talk to you. It's a beautiful thing to have young people come up to you in church and tell you how they've been getting along in school because they figure you want to know. How many young people at your church figure you want to know what happened to them in school? How many of them figure you want to know that they got an award and that you will rejoice with them? How many young people know to come and tell you something because you're going to be excited with them? And that you'll listen, and that you'll listen until they're completely through. People, that means, Ruthie, come up here, Ruthie Musser. Come on up, Susie. Y'all know Susie. Remember Susie? Susie gave me this bracelet. It's a topaz bracelet. My birthday's in November, and I don't particularly care for gold topaz, but she didn't know that, I don't think. Did you know I didn't like gold topaz too much? I shouldn't say that. I liked it. But anyway, she got blue. And how did you earn the money for that, Susie?
I worked at a workshop.
She worked at a sheltered workshop. Susie, I didn't even think about your being here because I don't ever take it off. You know that? Did I tell you that or write it to you? I don't ever take it off, do I? Do I ever take it off? No. Now, I may lose it. I may lose it sometime because I don't ever take it off. If I lose it, will you buy me another one? Susie and I talk, don't we? And Susie's told me lots of things she feels. Haven't you, honey? Why do you tell me things you feel? You think about that. Why do you tell me things that you feel? Like you've told me that you'd like to be married sometime and have children. Why would you tell me things like that?
Because I would like to get married sometime and have children.
I don't want to know that. I want to know why you told me. Silly. Why you want to tell me that? Yeah, I know it. I know it. It's true. But why will you tell me? You tell everybody? You don't tell everybody that, do you? Just
No.
us and me, just me and these ladies. Right? Why do you tell me? Can you think? I think I know. Do I listen to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do I look you in the eyes? Do I look away when somebody else comes by?
No, ma'am.
I think I know. And I'm really upset with you for not knowing that. I had to stand here and tell it myself instead of you telling it. How long are you going to be here?
Always.
Okay, so you want to go out? You got other stories to tell me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll listen. And I'll look you in the eyes, won't I? Okay, honey. Thank you. Ruthie, what do you come up and tell me every few weeks at church? So, what's some of the things that, well, you want me to check out your new dresses and stuff, right?
Well, I come up to you and I say I love you because I really love you, and I go after you because I'm learning from you how to be like a young lady, and from my mom, and how to be like a young lady should act and everything. And
What are some of the things you tell me about what happens at school?
well, I tell you like what how embarrassed I get and everything else.
Why would you think that I'd be interested?
I don't know.
I'm not. I am. But what makes you think I would be? Can you figure it out at all? Do you tell everybody what kind of marriage you get?
Mm-mm.
How many other people do you tell?
My mom.
What?
My mom.
Your mom?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why would I care?
I don't know.
I think they don't know. I really believe they don't know. And therefore they don't they don't know to go tell their moms that this is what they want. Let me tell you why you tell me. Same thing as Susie. I look at you when you come into the church, and I touch you like this, don't I? And I hold on to you if somebody else comes up and say, don't leave yet, don't I? And I look you in the eyes, do I not? And I shut my mouth. Do I shut my mouth? You better say I shut my mouth. People, who's going to go up to their mom and say, I need for you to look me in the eyes, not look at anybody else, not do any, and stay by me if somebody else does come, keep me by you, and listen and shut up. How are you going to tell a mom that? Thank you, Ruthie. Don't fall down there. That's where I fall. Children are not going to do that alone and listen one at a time. Praise them during this time you're alone with them and tell them how much you love them. This is a reflective time to find out where they are, what they're thinking. They act like they don't want it, but they do. I was thinking it wouldn't do too much damage to that song if I went, and she walks with me and she talks, and she tells me I am her own. Wouldn't it be something to be the woman that they could say she walks with me and she talks with me and she tells me I am her own? And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. 2 words, what are they? You're going to have to, sometimes I have to almost sew up my mouth. You're going to have to put tape over it. Alone and listen. Bubbles, please. Wouldn't it be fun if when you were alone and listening, you could just do something like play with bubbles together? Let's do it right now. Let's do it. Open them up. Let's go. Let's see how pretty it looks. Start in right away. Belinda, should I have you with this? Can you help me? Thank you. Okay. Let's go. I can't go. I can't do it. There we go. Okay. Got it? Mothers and daughters get together. Sunday school teachers and daughters, get together. Older mothers and adult daughters, get together. Mothering ones, get together, and let's have some fun. You, honey. I love you. Oh, honey, did you hurt yourself? Okay, older ladies, not teens. Let's sing. We love you, teens. Oh, yes, we do. We don't love anyone as much as you. When you're not with us, we're blue. Love you. Okay, teens, you sing We Love Adults. Teens, come on, teens. We love adults. They really don't love anybody as much as they love us. It really is true. We love you, teens. Oh, yes, we do. We don't love anyone as much as you. When you're not with us, we're blue. Oh, teens, we love. All right, teens, yell. We love you. We love you, adults. We love you, adults. As much as you. Get up on the seats. Okay, teens, start. Go tell your mamas. Go tell your Sunday school teachers. Go tell somebody. Go tell some adult. Go tell somebody. Some adult. Not up here. Over that way. Go tell them you love them. It takes 5 hugs a day to stay healthy. And I'm getting a lot more than 5. Is that joy, Marlene? Oh, good. College kids love me too. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. All right. You may take your seats again. I love you too. Ah, sweetie, I love you. I love you, Danielle. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, let's make teenagers feel royal. Let's make teenagers. Oh, man. Let's make teenagers feel royal. Let's say it. Let's make. Again, let's make. Let's make. Let's make. Let's make. How? All right. Shh. What's the matter with you? All this fuss. Carrying on like this in the church house. No, it's your fault. You're acting bad. No one's tried to. I've been trying to be nice. You've been bad. Okie dokie. We got a lot more here. We got more tonight. All righty. I'm going down to watch it.
You've worn your breastplate of righteousness. Your feet have been shod with the gospel of peace. You have used your shield of faith. You have worn your helmet of salvation, and you have walked with your sword of the Spirit. You dedicated yourself at a young age to living a godly life. You've lived the 3 duties of a knight. You've protected the weak. You've cared for your mother when she was sick, for your younger brother when he was much younger than you. As a child, you cared for him. And you care for weaker Christians in your prayer for them, in your concern for them, in your love for them. You've made wrongs right. When other people have been mistreated, you have that special way of helping them feel like that they can make it. When you were mistreated in your life, you were able to turn all of your negatives upside down and make something wonderful come out of it. You've honored women. You've given yourself to your Sunday school class in your prayers, in your care, and your love for them. You've listened, you've counseled, and you've graciously given yourself to serving them. Now, ladies, I want to address you. I know you're probably looking at me and saying, you know, it's nice to hear all these wonderful things about Mrs. Stevens, but I could never really be like her. Well, this is where I want to personally challenge you tonight. Mrs. Stevens, I'm going to share some stories, some statements that I've gathered about you, because I would like these ladies to realize that you're a very practical lady and that you're very copyable. I want them to know that life can just be simple in living for others. I want them to know that they can be just like you. Ladies, as you listen to the stories that I have to say to you, I want you to think in your heart, is this some way that I can be? Is this something that I can do for someone else? Or is this an attitude that I can have? You came from a poor family. You've had to work most of your life. In fact, money was scarce. But even though money was scarce, you took what little you had and spoiled those who were around you. We often hear of the story where you took a baseball every week and took it home to your little brother. He was 8 years younger than you, and even though he didn't have many toys because it was during the Depression time, and so every week you'd bring him a baseball. You also spent your money in earning $11 a week, was it $12 a week, and $10 went to your mother, and $1 went for layaway for a new bicycle, the only and new bicycle that your brother ever purchased. And of course, we've heard him tease how many new dresses you've gotten since you purchased that bicycle for him. Now, girls, young ladies, I want to challenge you. These are simple stories, but you know, Mrs. Stevens, there's 8 years difference between you and your brother. How many of you have little bratty little brothers and sisters that run around? They get in your makeup, and they pull your hair and your pigtails. Well, you better watch how you treat them, because one of these days, you might get a lot of new dresses, or you might not. I mean, take it as a practical lesson. How many of you, and you don't have to raise your hands, have honestly saved money to buy a special gift for your siblings? It's important that you learn to respect your siblings even when they bug you. As a child, Mrs. Stevens, you lived a happy, normal home. We often hear the stories about your alcoholic father, but he didn't turn to alcohol till you were much older. You had one sister in heaven, and you had one sister who was your playmate. Now, quite often when Brother Howes would tell the story, I didn't realize how close you and Hazel were in age. 18 months apart, and Hazel was not sick from the time that she was born. She was a very healthy, happy child. I have 4 children, but my 2 boys are very close. They're 19 months apart. I have a 6-year-old and a 4.5-year-old, and they are just the best of buddies. They play together, they laugh together, they fight together, but they have a good time together. They were very close, just as you were with your sister. And she got the measles, which we think is a very common illness. But the Lord chose to take her to heaven. You were 5 or 5.5 at the time, and she was 7. You know, that's quite the heartache to have to deal with as a 5.5-year-old, because she was her normal sister, and now she didn't have a sibling. She didn't have her playmate. She didn't have her companion. And so her heart hurt at a very young age. But her mother taught her young to trust in the Lord even when your heart hurts. As a mature adult, another shadow came into your life, and you found yourself alone. You didn't understand why you had to face it. Now, you had a choice to make. You could either become bitter, or you could become better because of your situation. You counseled with your brother. He gave you some advice, and you chose to go forward instead of look backwards. You took college courses while you were in your 40s, which now has enabled you to have the wonderful job at Howes Anderson College as bursar of Howes Anderson College. You chose to go on with your life. You chose to allow the Lord to take a difficult situation and make something beautiful of it. Ladies, some of us have had to make that choice. Some of us have had to make very difficult decisions. You know, it may be divorce, it may be separation, it may be a death, it may be an illness that you've had to deal with. You know, you have to make a choice whether you are going to become bitter or whether you are going to become better. Now, I don't know about you, but I choose to become better. I want to follow Mrs. Stevens' example of how she's made her burden a bridge to success. You moved to Hammond and became the bursar of Howes Anderson College. When it came time for you to choose where to live, you decided to live closer to the church. And I tell this story because I think it's so practical. The college is quite a bit a ways away. She could have chosen to live next to the college or closer to the church. She chose to live closer to the church, and I believe one reason is to make sure that you didn't miss church, because you knew how important preaching was. Ladies, how practical is that for us? Is church just a portion of your life, or is it something that is your life? You know, your preaching, the preaching that we get from the man of God is so vital. It's as vital as the food that we eat every week. And that's sometimes, well, I would have to say more important than going to work and earning money. So if you have a choice and you can only go out, then choose church. Because that's just a practical lesson. We need the Word of God preached to us. You chose to live with your mother so that you could care for her. Now, your busy life, with the busyness of the school, and yet you chose to live with her. You took time to take her to the beautician. You took time to make sure her special diet was cared for. You adjusted your busy work schedule to care for her. You made sure she was always modest. She always looked beautiful, and even in the last years of her life, when she came to the college in her wheelchair, she may not have been as concerned about the way she looked, but you did, and you took special care of your mother. Now, ladies, whether you're young or old, I want this practical lesson to be a challenge to you to take care of your mother. And whether she's a much elderly lady or whether she's a young lady, young ladies, little girls, you need to respect and care for her. Have you taken time out of your busy schedule to do something special for her? Is she worth the trouble to you? She shouldn't be a burden. She should be precious. She's the one that gave you your life. You should take care of her. How self-sacrificial are you when it comes to your parents? Now, I know Mrs. Stevens, when she moved in with her mother, she chose to live with all the furniture and decor of her mother's likings, which meant she didn't go purchase a bunch of new furniture and say, Mom, you're going to live in my apartment. She chose to live in her mother's apartment with her mother's decor. Do you realize that means she didn't purchase new furniture till after her mother moved to heaven and she was 64 years of age? Now that's quite self-sacrificial. So many of us want what we want because we want it, and we don't think of the other person. I guess I'm trying to tell all of these stories because I want you to realize this is a life that's been lived for others. You've been extremely loyal to your preacher in your church. You've accepted your baby brother as a preacher, and you followed his advice. In fact, you take his sermons quite as a personal challenge. One story that I have is a lady who was being baptized. She had a sorrowful past, and preacher just made the comments, you know, someone needs to take special care of her. And you, Mrs. Stevens, took that as a personal challenge, and you saw to it that you took the time to talk to her, you took the time to care for her and pray for her. You were available to listen what time you could give for her. Now, I want to give you some statements that your family has said, just some fun stories. And again, I want you ladies, and I'm not trying to belabor you with all these stories, but at the same time, it's such a practical life. If we could just take some of the simple things that Mrs. Stevens has done, and I guess the whole thing in a crux is that she lived for others. And, you know, what is so hard about looking for someone else's needs and living for others? Family's always been important to you. You've made special efforts to be close to your family. Your family says that you can be in the midst of a conversation and they can walk up and you'll just, oh, there's my granddaughter, or there's my great-granddaughter, there's Dana, or there's Amanda, and you get so excited, and that makes them feel so special when you do that. Their burden becomes your burden. You earnestly pray for them. As when your granddaughter Cindy's husband went to heaven 15 years ago, and it's 15 years ago this week, you took the time after the funeral to fly down to Texas and to spend the day with her because she needed that encouragement. She needed that probably more than you knew. She needed that encouragement. And you were there for her, and she'll always remember that. She's eventually, since then, remarried, and it's been quite a few years since she's remarried, but they also appreciate the fact that you've accepted her new husband and her family for the way it is. And I know that you've accepted him and loved him very dearly. And you know, ladies, a practical lesson for you, there may be a new family member that comes into your family. Are you accepting them? Or you don't like the change because it's something new? Just get over it. Just get over it. You know, if someone else is going to be in the family, you can't change it, so accept them for who they are and go on. Another statement I love is how Mrs. Stevens participates in your life. She's always interested in your life. Her great-granddaughter just got married, and at age 79, she took a special trip to Michigan to make sure she was a part of her great-granddaughter's wedding. You take another great-granddaughter to lunch every Sunday afternoon, and you listen to her boy stories, and you talk about silly things. And I think this story is so cute. She, one of the great-granddaughters wanted to see her boyfriend's house, or this guy she liked. She wanted to see his house. Now, we've all been teenagers at one time, and we've all wondered what it'd be like just to drive around and see what that house would look like. Well, Mrs. Stevens says, well, let's not tell anybody. Let's sneak around and let's just drive by that house. Now, how many of you mothers would take that much interest in your teenage daughter to do something silly like that? Well, what's wrong with doing something silly like that? I also hear that you have slumber parties at your house and that you stay up and talk and play silly games all the time with the girls. I've heard about your garbage shakes. I'm not sure I'd like to taste one. A garbage shake where you can start with vanilla ice cream and then maybe add a little bit of Tabasco sauce and whatever else ingredients you find in the kitchen just to be silly with the girls. You know, again, ladies, how many of you were so busy in our schedules? Why can't we do something silly with our children? Because they remember that. Again, it's a life lived for others. You stay youthful. You stay young with us. I heard that you went bike riding this summer. I heard that you were on a trampoline about 3 years ago. I hope I'm as agile as you. I also hear that you let the teenagers drive you around, and even though you're scared to death, you don't act panicky that the 16-year-old is driving you around. In fact, they said that they encourage her and encourage them and actually make them feel like they know how to drive when we all know 16-year-olds can't drive. You like to go shopping. You like to be involved with your family. They said when you go shopping, you don't make them feel like you're a burden. I think this is so sweet. They'll go to a store, and she'll say, I'm just going to rest in the car. You go in and shop, and when you're done shopping, we'll resume our conversation. And so they'll jump out and go shopping and come back and get in the car, and then she'll perk up and start right back where they left off. I just think that just sounds, you've learned to enjoy life, and I think that's wonderful. Another story is she's learned to carefully choose her words in order to keep her femininity and positive approach. When you're approached by men at the college, and being the bursar, she cares for the finances of the college. So sometimes you may be approached by men at the college they'll have to ask for some certain funds. Well, if the funds aren't there, you could say, it's just not there. Well, you can't have it. But that's not the way you choose to phrase your words. Mrs. Stevens would answer something more like, well, we can look in the books and see what funds are available, and if that would help your needs. No, ladies, how practical is that? We all have something that we could say, but sometimes it's the tone of our voice and how we choose our words that will get the better effect. You know, look at your kids and say something real snotty, but if you choose to say it a little differently, you'll retain your femininity. Let's learn to choose our words carefully. Mrs. Stevens is a giver. You can't go to her house probably without walking away with something. Now, don't everyone go knocking on her door, but she always has a plate of cookies or an extra jar of mayonnaise that happened to be on sale that week. Or why don't you go through my closet and see if there's something that maybe you might need. Or maybe to her grandson or grandson, that she would say to him to go through her library and see if there's any books that he might be interested in. And just keep them. That's fine. You can just keep them. I mean, that's so giving. I love this story, how there was a red coat that you wanted. And it was a little more expensive than was in your budget, so you planned and you dreamed and you look at it and you saved and saved and saved and saved. So one day you had enough money to purchase it. Well, a lady walked in your office at the college and had a very tattered coat, and the Holy Spirit tugged on your heart and said, you need to give her that money. Now, that would be difficult to do when it's something that you've saved and saved and saved for. But yet you listened to the Holy Spirit and you gave her the money. And wouldn't you know it, she came back in with the exact coat that you had saved for. Is that not correct? But the Lord blessed her with the exact same amount of money, and then you were able to go purchase a coat, correct? The same one? One very similar. One very similar. You know, you can never outgive the Lord. If the Lord tugs on your heart and asks you to give something, if it's within your power to do so, then it's best just to give it, even if it might be a little sacrificial. Now, ladies, I could go on and on about stories, but can your family say stuff like this about you? Will they be able to stand up and tell how you've lived for others? Is your family important to you? Do you participate in their lives? Do you listen to their stories? Are you interested in their activities? Are you an encourager? Do you prefer others? Can you turn negatives into positives? Oh, that's one thing. She's never negative. She always has something positive to say. She's always encouraging you to go on. Are you cautious of your words? Are you feminine? Are you generous? You can be all of these. You can copy Mrs. Stevens' practical life of living for and preferring others. The key is not to focus on yourself. It's to focus on others. You know, when you live for others, you become more beautiful as the years pass. Your countenance looks vibrant and sweet. How many of you seen the grouchy older women and you said, I'm never going to be like that? You know, they've been making that ugly face for a lot of years. It's because they've been living for themselves. Now, when you reach 80, as Mrs. Stevens does next week, and you have lived a life for others, then you will look young, and you'll feel young at heart. At an older age, it isn't makeup that makes you pretty. It's what you are on the inside. Because right now, you are making your face of the future. Mrs. Stevens has made a beautiful face by living a beautiful life. Ladies, look at your own life. Search your own heart. Decide to be a knight of godliness. Put on your spiritual armor. Walk with your sword, the Bible. Protect the weak. Right wrongs. Honor women. Then maybe when you reach your 80th birthday, you can be honored as a knight of godliness. And now, Mrs. Stevens, we're going to begin our official ceremony of honor. Can I have the bag, please? First, I'd like to place upon you, and if I can get it out of this bag, a robe of royalty. Which is a nice house coat for her to use in her practical living. This is a royal gift in which you may open later. This, as all knights are officially when they receive their knighthood, they are presented with a sword. Well, tonight we're going to present her with the true and only sword of the Spirit. You may take the Bible. I'll keep the tray. And I'm just going to officially do what they do at every night service, where I will be very careful with the sword and tap you. And I want to dub Mrs. Stevens as our royal knight of godliness.